My name is Jane. I want to tell you a story from a long time ago. That time I was 16 years old. I lived in a big, beautiful mansion on a very large farm. Our mansion was called Green Hill. Many workers worked on our farm. Our neighbors were all landlords and had big mansions too. I lived there with my family. We were happy. I was a young and very pretty girl. Every month there was a party in one of the mansions. People came in pretty close. There was music, food, and dancing. I always wore my best dresses, blue, red, white, and people smiled when they saw me. I loved to dance. I danced until midnight, and sometimes even longer. All the neighbor boys liked me. They followed me everywhere. They said I was the most beautiful girl. They said I looked like a princess, but I didn't care about what they said. I didn't care about being the prettiest. I didn't care about the parties. I only cared about one thing. Or maybe I should say, one person. His name was Thomas. Thomas was very handsome with dark blue eyes and blonde hair. He had studied at the university. Thomas was not like other boys. He didn't talk too much. He was quiet and kind. He didn't laugh too loudly or try to show off. He was different. He made me feel calm. I loved him. I loved him with all my heart. Every time I saw him, my heart beat fast. I wanted him to love me too, but he didn't. Thomas loved someone else. Her name was Mary. Mary was soft and gentle. She had kind eyes and a warm smile. She never said bad things about anyone. Thomas fell in love with her. They were happy together. And then, one day, I heard they were getting married. When I heard the news, my heart broke. I felt pain deep inside. But I didn't cry in front of people. I smiled at the party. I laughed with my friends. But inside, I was crying. Inside, I was angry and sad. I felt like something was lost forever. That night, I met someone new. His name was James. He was a man around 40 years old. He was tall and strong, with broad shoulders and powerful hands. His skin was dark. He had black mustache that made him look serious. His eyes were deep and sharp. They looked at you like they could see everything inside your heart. And when he smiled, it was not a sweet smile. It was a strange, like he knew something you didn't. It made me feel nervous, but also curious. He looked at me and said, "Thomas does not deserve your love." When he said that, I felt surprised. How did he know how I felt? How did he see inside my heart? It was like he watched me for a long time. His voice was calm, but his words were strong. I didn't know what to say. I just looked at him, and in that moment, I understood. He knew everything about me. He knew my pain, my dreams, my broken heart. It was a little scary, but also comforting. For the first time, I felt like someone truly saw me. He looked at me with strange eyes, like he saw the real me. He said something I will never forget. He said, "Tomas doesn't dare to love a girl like you." I didn't understand his words. I was too sad, too confused, but those words stayed in my heart. Again and again, I thought about them. The next day, something terrible happened. War began. When the war started, I thought it was just a story. I believed it wouldn't reach us. My father said the South would win quickly. I believed him. But soon, young men were leaving to fight. Thomas left too. I stayed at Green Hill. My mother worked, day and night, helping the sick. My father became quiet, and I had to become strong. There was no more dancing, no more parties. There was fear, hunger, and pain. I missed Thomas, even though he was with Mary. And James? He came and went like the wind. Always watching, always knowing. I started to understand. Life was no longer a dream. It was a fight. As the war got worse, we lost many things. We had little food. My mother died from illness. My father started talking to people who weren't there. I had to take care of everything. My sisters, the farm, the workers. I worked with my hands in the dirt. I had no time to cry. Every night, I thought of Thomas. I didn't know if he was alive. I wanted to believe he would come back, but I had to keep moving, keep working. There was no other choice. I wasn't the girl from the parties anymore. I was the woman who kept Green Hill alive. When the war ended, we thought things would get better, but they didn't. Everything was broken. Homes, hearts, and hope. Thomas came back. He was alive, but different. He looked at the ground more than he looked at faces. Mary smiled and held his hand. And me? I finally saw the truth. He had never been mine. Taxes were high. Food was still hard to find. I had to fight for every coin. People called me cold. I didn't care. I needed to survive. That's when James came back into my life. He saw what I had become. He said, "You're not that playful girl anymore. You're a real woman now. And I like real women." My heart beat faster. But I had learned not to trust feelings. Not yet. Green Hill needed saving again. The government wanted taxes, and we had no money. So I made a choice. I married Frank, a rich man who loved my sister. I didn't love him, but I needed his money. I never wanted to hurt Laura. She was my sister, but I had to make a choice. Green Hill is more than just a farm. It's our home, our family's legacy. I knew Laura wanted to marry Frank. If she married him, she would leave. She would not care about Green Hill. I was very sad. I wanted to save Green Hill. I had no hope. So I went to Frank. I smiled and talked sweetly. I said, "Laura loves another man. She wants to marry him. But I love you. I want to marry you." Frank was rich, but he was not young and not good-looking. His voice was soft, like a woman's voice. He never thought a beautiful girl would marry him. He was happy and said yes. We got married. He gave me money. I used the money to save Green Hill. When Laura knew, she was very angry. She shouted at me. She said, "You are not my sister now. I would do anything to save Green Hill." I didn't want my father, my sisters, and the workers to lose their home. We moved to River City. I ran his store, made it better, made it mine. People judged me, but I didn't care. I was doing what I had to do. James visited sometimes. He watched me work. He smiled less, but his eyes still saw everything. 2 years later, Frank fell seriously ill and died. I didn't love him, but I was very sad about his death. I cheated on him, married him, used his money to save Greenhill. I felt a terrible sense of guilt. After Frank died, the silence in the house was heavier than ever. River City no longer felt safe. It was full of sad memories and judging eyes. But right then, James came back into my life. This time not with jokes and smiles, but with a serious offer: marriage. This time, he said, "Let's get married." And that was the beginning of something new. When he said, "I want to marry you, Jane," I was surprised, not because of the offer, but because of his honesty. James was always clear. I answered just as clearly. If you mean money, yes. If you mean love, I don't know yet. He didn't get angry. He said, "I will give you both." Our wedding was not simple, but it was beautiful. For the first time, I wore a dress not to show off, but to feel powerful. I was now Mrs. Esmith, a woman with a grand house in River City, polite servants, and a husband who everyone respected. At first, our life was full of joy and travel. We went to New Orleans to warm beaches and gardens full of jasmine. I laughed again. It had been so long since I laughed, but that joy didn't last. James tried his best to make me happy. I had everything, but I always thought about Thomas. In my heart, I wished Thomas was with me instead of James. James understood this, like he could read my mind. Sometimes he got angry and left the house. Something between us stayed unfinished. Maybe my pride, maybe his pain, or maybe love that never learned how to grow. At night, we talked softly. Sometimes we fought. Then we said nothing. The silence wasn't peace. It was tiredness. When our daughter Emily was born, I thought everything would be okay. Emily was like sunlight in our home. James loved her more than anything. He held her gently, told her stories, and smiled in a way I had never seen before. Our life continued, full of cold meetings with rich people, fake smiles, and silence in our home. I still thought of Thomas sometimes. James knew. He never said it out loud, but I saw it in his eyes. One night, he said, "Jane, we both failed. Not because we couldn't love, but because we didn't know how to keep love alive." I wanted to answer, but the words escaped me. Silence won again. Emily grew up. She was full of energy, beauty, and joy. Everyone loved her. Servants, neighbors, strangers. But no one loved her like James did. Emily was the only warmth left between us, a small light in our cold home. I loved her too, but James loved her more. He played with her, built swings, told stories. He looked at her with pure love, no pride, no fear. James bought a small horse for Emily. Every day he taught her how to ride it. I sat on the balcony and watched them with joy. But life can be cruel. One day, Emily wanted to jump her horse. She wanted to be brave, like her father, but she was still small. The horse was strong. She shouted, "Mom, look how good I ride." Suddenly, the horse made a loud sound and jumped. Emily fell. I screamed and fainted. Our dear Emily was gone. The house was very quiet. The servants walked like shadows. They cried silently. James took Emily's body to her room. He didn't let anyone enter and screamed. James didn't. He only held her. He sat beside her for 3 days, without food or sleep. Many sad and dark days passed. James and I didn't talk. We stayed alone in our rooms. I felt James was guilty. I could not forgive him. After that, James changed. He became quiet. He stopped talking to me, to our friends, to himself. We sat in the same room, but never spoke. The silence wasn't from tiredness this time. It was from pain. A pain that no words could fix. Sometimes I thought, if Emily had lived, maybe we would be okay. Maybe we would still have hope. But now, there was only Green Hill and memories. One night, James whispered, "Jane, I have nothing left to stay for." I said nothing. I looked out the window. The night was too quiet. After James left, something inside me broke. Not because I was alone, but because I could finally hear the truth. I had hidden it for years, under pride, anger, war, and work. The house was quiet, too quiet. Birds sang outside. The servants walked quietly down the hall. I was a woman alone, with no husband, no child, no real friend. Mary, sweet Mary. She had always been there, calm, soft, kind. But now she was sick. When I visited, she held my hand and said, "Jane, you have a big heart. You just didn't know it." She cried, and I cried too, for the first time, from my heart. After she died, I looked at Thomas, the man I had dreamed about for years. But now I saw clearly he never loved me, and I never really loved him. I wanted Thomas like a child wants another kid's toy. I wanted him because he didn't want me. I was used to everyone loving me. I wanted Thomas so much. I fought for him. But now I understand something. I love James. I always loved James. Not for his money, not for his power, but because he never lied to me, because he stood in front of me with truth, always. And I never gave him the real me. I stood up and looked in the mirror. I saw a woman, not perfect, but alive, still full of hope, and I said to myself, tomorrow is another day, and I'm still alive. I woke early. Cool air came through the window. A bird was singing far away. I was alone, but not afraid. I had to go. I had to find James. Not to cry, not to beg, but to speak the truth that I had hidden inside me. I wanted to tell him that now I understand. Now I know what love really means. And if there's still a chance, if there's still a place in his heart for me, I dressed quickly. I tied my hair loosely. For the first time, I walked out without caring about my looks. I left Green Hill and went toward River City. The city was busy, as always, but I only thought of one thing: finding him, the sound of wheels, the smell of fresh bread, the voices of children, all faded into the background. When I reached James's house, I was out of breath. I knocked. An old servant opened the door. He looked at me and said, "Mr. Esmett is gone, ma'am." I felt like my heart was broken. With a shaking voice, I asked, "Where did he go?" He said, "I don't know, ma'am. He told me he needed peace." Suddenly, all the tears I had hidden behind my pride for many years came out. My world became dark. I felt like a child who lost their mother. I felt so alone and scared. Now I understood he was my whole world, and I had lost him. Thanks for watching, my friend. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment, hit the like button, and subscribe for more beautiful stories in simple English.